The Pride of Bruges carries 930 passengers and 850 cars. When you drive on board in Hull, she seems quite adequate to the task of conveying you smoothly across the North Sea to Zeebrugge. The car safely stowed, the prospect of a good dinner in the ship's restaurant is irresistible, and maybe a glass of something to wash it down. All very satisfactory. A nightcap before heading for the cabin, and a good night's sleep. In the watches of the night and in the middle of the North Sea, the Pride of Bruges doesn't feel quite so solid. And when the waves are crashing all around, she feels more like a cork in a vast ocean. And that dinner doesn't feel that it was such a good idea. At sea, things can change very quickly, and sailors must adapt nimbly to the prevailing conditions. In today's Gospel, we find Jesus' disciples in a boat on the storm-tossed Sea of Galilee. Jesus, after the great feast in which 5,000 were fed and none went away hungry, had sent the disciples ahead in the boat while he stayed behind with the crowd before retreating to pray alone. The next morning, Jesus went out to join them in the boat. He didn't swim out to them, but rather chose to get there by walking on the water. It would be easy, as with any miracle story, to see that as the whole of the story, but that would be to miss a great deal. Jesus tells people not to believe in him because of the miracles he wrought, but rather to believe on account of the truth of what they hear. Jesus was not a travelling showman with a load of tricks up his sleeve. Rather, he was here to preach the truth about the world, its people, and God. Jesus walking on water is no reason to believe anything other than that he here was a jobbing magician who could make us think we'd seen him walk on water. If we dig deeper into this, we find that the disciples' boat in the rough sea represents the church after the death of Jesus, buffeted by huge waves. As the disciples in the boat are terrified at the sight of Jesus walking on the water, far from them, so the disciples of the church after the death of Jesus are terrified that even though they can still see him, he is far from them. In the Gospel story, Jesus tells the disciples in the boat to have faith. Despite his absence, he is still with them. So it is with the church after his death. Jesus is still with us. Jesus is with us when we act in justice towards our fellow human beings. Jesus is with us when people act in justice and peace towards us. Peter responded to Jesus, saying, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." He doesn't want to share in Jesus' magical powers. Rather, he sees that if the Creator God who brings order out of chaos, who strides the waters of the deep, is revealing himself in the person of a human being, in sharing our humanity, then it is possible for us to share in his divinity, to conquer ourselves the chaos and destructiveness of our fallen world. He has come to us to invite us to come to him over the water. But Peter also sees that this is possible only in response to an invitation from Jesus to come to him. The way to walk the waters of the deep is to keep our eyes fixed firmly on the eyes of Jesus, our fellow human being, carpenter of Nazareth, friend of sinners, son of Mary, Son of God, our Creator and Redeemer. The Christian faith is not about magical powers, but about a relationship lived in love with the living God. If we fail, if we lose sight of it, our only recourse, like Peter's, is to hold out our hands for mercy and cry, "Lord, save me." And we can be sure that though we may fail him time and time again, he will never let us down, but will draw us back to himself, saying, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid."